through. I'm going to go through kind of slow. You can do it slow, and then you've got videos if you want to hear it differently. So if you choose this for your quiz, I think this is probably the easiest between this and 3742, which are your choices. You definitely want to do them both. You're going to get slightly different things with each, but this is probably easier. This is a good pace. It could be faster, but as long as you play a steady pace, that is fine. And of course, we've talked about the pink boxes. Don't forget, until it's second nature, check the chords. Next pages, lots of chord drill. Go through it when you practice until the chords are easy for you. I did rockets a couple times. I'm not going to do that. You ought to do it, but it's kind of a prep thing for what's coming. Dynamics, reviewed. What can I share? The second quiz song. I worked on this less. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the last two lines because that's what I did less. In the song, the left hand starts in the first half with the melody. Then that switches. So let me play line 3 slow. I'll do the right hand once. All right, I didn't do what I said I was going to do. Let me do the right hand. All right, sometimes force of habit just has you doing odd things. So you want to get the melody before you put the chords with it. If we compare that to line 4, it goes down. And there's a tie there. The last two dotted half notes are tied together. So that's a really long note. That's a total of 6 beats. So I'm going to do those two lines together real slow, both hands. Now, when you're working on that, if it's not easy to do a line or 2 lines, break it shorter. We've talked about this. If you do 2 lines, line 3, you get. So your right hand's playing and then holding, and the left hand comes in. Then when you stop, you can kind of refresh your memory, relax for a bit, and do it again, do it again. Then go ahead, do the next 2. Sounds weird to start in the middle, but you want to learn how to do that. This is line 3, measure 3. If that goes well, put the line together. That's probably not that challenging by itself. Then try the whole line. What you also can do is do 2 measures and then add 1 measure, and then from those 3 move on. You can pause if you want to focus. Take care. When you pause, you allow yourself to catch yourself from playing the wrong note. You allow yourself to check what finger is on what note, and your pause can be longer. If you're thinking, that's fine. It's better to pause than to go ahead and play it wrong. With the last line, only one thing's different. In the right hand, your very last note goes down instead of up. So I'm going to play the whole thing through. I'm going to play it real zippy because you have other places to listen. And that feels a little fast. Excuse me. Talked about the phrase marks, the slurs. Every time you play that, you should look around at the details. Day is done. I kind of went over this a little bit. I'm going to play it through. It's really a little simpler than the facing song. It's just a way to kind of use the same material in a little bit of a different way that helps you not just learn music, but learn how to read. You see the same notes in a different context. By the way, this first little part, we're going to have that rhythm again in the hand doing the same thing, but in a different hand position very soon. So it's kind of good to do this. The second line's the same except for one note. So when I talk to you about practicing and about what you ought to be doing, I like to also let you know how you can kind of put your time around like what you should be doing. I would say that for something like this, it's shorter, it's an exercise. You might not be aware if you just see it, but I'm aware. It's kind of reviewing some things, nothing really new. If you're busy, this is the kind of a song that maybe you would just do one line. As we get further in the term, there might be a couple things that I suggest not doing the whole thing, and I will kind of gauge how our time's going, how we're doing with getting the quizzes done. For now, I think you should try everything, but as I said before, you do not have to master everything. Once you can sit down and practice and go through that first line without really stumbling in the middle, that means you kind of have the skills you need for that. Bottom of the page, comparing slurs and ties. All right, we're moving into Saints. This is an example of what I just said. There is no need for you to learn page 45 and 47 in entirety. If you like them, that's a great challenge. The hardest part, I believe, is in line 3, and I'm going to go over all that today. So when we see the facing page, we see the F chord, pink boxes, block chords. Block means they're together. The F chord, you see what it looks like as a graphic on the keys, and you see what it looks like on the staff, on those lines. And this, of course, is left hand. Then we have the exercise. At the top, it focuses on your thumb reaching from the G to the A, but also coming back. Top of 45 is a drill, repeated chords. When you first do this or something like this, you might just do 2 measures, because in 2 measures the chord changes. Do that a couple times. Then do the next chord change. Once you get it, it should be easy for you. But if it's not easy, that means you might need to do it some more. Now, what's important on this page? Incomplete measure. We're going to have more of that. Talked about that before. In a 4/4 measure, there would be 4 beats. But in an incomplete measure in the beginning, There could be less. There could be one, there could be two, three, there could be a half a beat, but that's way beyond anything we're going to do in this term. In this case, there's three, and we get that missing beat at the end. So it all works out if you repeat it. So as far as what are you going to be learning in this song? Well, first of all, we looked at this somewhat in the beginning. We did the melody. I wanted you to do that pattern to kind of get your hands used to that pattern. It should be easy for you now to do line one, assuming you did what you were supposed to do in the beginning. Now, what is new and challenging here? It's the pattern that we see in lines 2, 3, and 4. But it's kind of the same pattern. So let's compare two lines. Let's compare line 2 with another line. We got this right, left thing going on. Let's compare it to line 3. And this line I think is the hardest at the end. It's hard at the end. That little change I think makes it more challenging. What is the same is like the back and forth, the alternation of the hands. Now, what does that mean if we think in terms of point of diminishing returns of how much effort you put into something and what return you get? You don't need to master this entire song to master the pattern. And on the other hand, once you master the pattern, it's not so hard to do the rest. But if you're in a situation where you have limited time, and we really all do, none of us have unlimited time, your best bet may be with multiple songs to work on rather than spend it all on one song. When there's this repetition of pattern, spend it on different things. So that being said, my suggestion is, if you like the song and have time, work through it. There's value to that. But if you're feeling like you're having a hard time with so many different songs, my suggestion to you is do 2 lines. And we've already done 1 line. So that means there is one challenge to be worked out, and that's line 2. Once you work that out, and we're going to have it like with the hands reversed, you're going to have a start to that skill. Down the road, when you see that pattern again, you'll be able to work it out more quickly. But if right now this takes more time than you have, you'll be okay if you skip part of it. So let's look. I'm not even going to look at line 1. We've done that already. We did it at the beginning of the term, and I looked at it a little bit last time. Line 2, how would you approach learning that? You're probably going to start with right hand. Now, because of the incomplete measure, how do we start line 2? There's a tied note. The first note has that little curve, which actually ties back to the previous line. That's just how it's done over a break at the end of the line. We don't have to play that. Because in this measure, it's tied. It also, because of the way the emphasis is shifted, when there's an incomplete measure in the beginning, the emphasis of the beats is kind of shifted. We don't need to worry about that too much, except let me just say, let's just start where the words start. Oh, when the. If we do that, you'll see it makes sense. So let's do right hand first. We have 4 beats and 1 beat as a tie. That should not be hard. You might have to work on it a little bit, but you should have done that in the very beginning of the term. I sort of figured covering about half in the beginning gets you prepared for this. So you do it a couple times if it doesn't feel easy. Your next step is to kind of go through with the rests and the chords, like rest, chord, like that. And then what happens is at the end, the rhythmic pattern shifts. Well, what's a rhythmic pattern? It's a pattern like something is set up, you anticipate something, it's set up, and then it repeats. But at the end, it changes. We have that group of 4. In the middle, it's left, right, and then it's It's just that repetition. So you want to go through those, and then you're probably going to take a small amount at once. Now, you could start in measure 2, or you could start with the pickup notes, the incomplete measure. And when I say incomplete measure, it's the phrase is based on an incomplete measure. Either will work. Perhaps you prefer one. If not, try them both. Then you're probably going to want to sneak ahead. Let's say we just start at that full measure. If that feels a little hard, do it a few times. If it feels easy, try to do another measure. But if it feels a little hard, when it feels a little easier, add just one note. You don't have to add a full measure. You could do that. Do that, repeat it, and then you could just add one beat. If you do it this way, you'll kind of build in success. You might go slower. You probably will. Now, when it changes, that rhythm pattern changes, that's probably going to kind of upset your groove. You're going to be going along, and then it changes. Just be aware of that so you don't get frustrated when that happens. Just be aware it changes, and maybe you slow down so you can use your brain. So that's what you should be doing. I'm going to do the next line as well. I'm going to break it down a little bit. But as I said, if you're kind of busy, if this seems hard, if you focus on line 2, you'll get, with our 80-20, you'll get like maybe 50% of the results with only 20% of the effort, something like that. Here is line 3, right hand. Notice there's that little faster note. If you do this, you're going to notice right away that the pattern is starting to feel the same. So that might go a little faster. Then you get that together, and then the next part, I see this over and over again. It's just, it shifts. What happens is your hands get into a pattern, then both hands change the pattern. That just makes it harder. So you can pause there, you'll get it. If it's super hard, focus your energy in line 2. Do a good job on line 2 rather than a mediocre job on 2 and 3 or 2, 3, and 4. All right, moving on. 46, support page, block. I always do the block first, and then I go through that. We've already looked at this, and they're pointing out your baby finger is going to share itself over 2. Top of next page, we've got block chords. How much should you do that? You should do that until you can do it steady all the way through. Doesn't have to be fast, but it should be faster than this. That won't be fast enough to be appropriate. Now, same thing about this song. You can get most of the value from half. Doing 50% gives you like 85% of the skills. So one line, first line will be the easiest. Do left hand first, just do half, because that's just going to repeat. Then slow it down. And you might do it that way a couple times, just half the line. Once you've done it 3 or 4 times, it's probably going to be easy to go all the way through. We're going to look at line 2. I'm going to slowly play the left hand. By the way, notice it starts the same and then it's different. So that line, that melody is a good exercise for your left hand. It gives you something a little different, so that's going to be worth your time. When you're ready, small section when the hands alternate. And you have to tune into how you feel. You will know when it feels easier. When it doesn't feel easier, you probably need to do some more careful repetitions. With some songs or some passages, some parts, it might not really feel easy until you've done it over several days. When we hit the change, when the rhythm changes, it's going to feel harder. So maybe slow down. So you will get a lot of benefit out of doing that second line. If you can get to third line, that's more challenging. Yes, you'll get some more benefit. But if you're really busy, maybe that's not the best place to put your effort in. So looking on, let me just peek ahead. All right, excuse me. 48 focuses more on this F major chord. There's little boxes for you to fill in. So it's kind of playing, it's writing. And what we have at the bottom of the page, it's actually a little song, but it's written all in the left hand. This is not common in piano. At least it's not common in solo piano. Sometimes you're playing with other instruments and you might just have a small part that you're playing. But the thing about piano is we often use both of our hands. However, it does happen sometimes, and this is kind of an exercise where you get to hear how if you play a couple different chords, you can hear part of that as the melody. So what tends to happen is our ears hear the highest note as the melody, all things being equal. Now, it's possible to play it different, really pounding into a different note. I could really pound that bottom note, or I could bring out the middle note, which is kind of harder to do. But if you keep them equal, we're going to hear the highest note. So what do we have here? We've got a pickup leading up to that. That's kind of the melody. But your left hand's doing it. So it's a good exercise. It drills you with these chords. And then there's you're kind of drilling that uneven measure thing. So what happens? You get the first part down. It repeats. Exactly. So you definitely want to work through that. The second line's a little bit different. That part may be a little bit harder to control. But that's important. Unlike the first line, that doesn't repeat. So you would do that till that gets comfortable, then maybe move ahead. That's like a walk down, and then the pattern we've had. So when you divide up your time, you're probably going to work a little bit on the first little section. double that. That will happen fast. Once you have it, you can do it twice. Then a little bit more effort here. I think the ending's a little easier. So that's an exercise song. Bottom of 49, I think this is important. It's really just an exercise, but it kind of brings together. They're making so much noise out there. Can you guys hear that vibration sound? It feels like my whole house is vibrating. It's coming from the back. I don't know what they're doing. I think they might be working on their boiler. That's the biggest. I'm in condos, and I'm in one strip here, but that's the biggest. There's 10 of them there. And the boiler's down by my end. Alrighty, next page, exercise, but this is a really good drill. All it is chords. I like to take it line by line. I'm going to show you the whole thing and then break it down. It sounds like my house is going to explode. It really does. I have no idea. It sounds like it's actually vibrating in my kitchen. If I explode, call the police. All right. If you divide that line up into the patterns, there's 2 measures which repeats. Get that? It's getting louder. You know what? I just want to see what's going on. You're not going to believe this. There's heavy equipment right outside my back door. It's like there's a big red thing. Do you hear it?
We don't hear it.
Oh, I'm going to show you. Oh, you know, my kitchen's a mess, but I'm going to show you because this is hilarious. All right, we're going. This is my kitchen. This is my back door. You see it? Can you guys see that? Yes, they're in my backyard. They've made a huge strip. No, I think they're from Comcast because somebody was here from Verizon. Hold on, let me just get through to the other room. Someone was here from Verizon a couple days ago, and they were right in front of my house. You know when they come and they spray paint like the orange marks? All right, let me just... So that, honestly, it sounded like it was... You know what? I bumped this. All right, hold on. This is still recording. I'm going to fix this. In the middle, this is just going to go all haywire. Me sounding like I'm paranoid because there really is equipment back there. All right. I was told that Comcast has something to do, I think, with cable for that building, but they're digging in my backyard. All righty, back to work. Second line starts different. So you can break this down and do one hand at a time. That's pretty obvious. And then just little by little put it together. This is a good drill. This will help you. Now, right now we're looking at where I wanted to end. This is ahead of where we are. I don't expect you're all going to start here, but I want you to be aware it's coming. This is going to be oh, why did I live in this building? It's like, oh, this is probably going to be going on all day. Alrighty, a different hand position. I want you to know what's coming up so when you get here, it doesn't surprise you. We started in a C hand position and we moved out of it just a little bit to reach for a note. Our hands are going to be in a G position. And the way they're going to introduce this is with a chart at the top. And if you've got your book, you can look at page 50. The chart compares the picture of a keyboard with letters on it, lining it up with notation, a simple example, and then intervals. We started in C position with seconds and thirds, then we moved to fourths and fifths, and then before you know it, we were in a jingle bells and then beyond. You're going to do the same thing here, but with more notes. What I'm going to do, I'm looking at the time, I'm going to play through just the bottom of this page. Do not worry if you can't get to this. We will come back again. I'm just going to, because this is like making me nuts. Like it sounds like they're going to like dig my house out. So here we go. Intervals in G position. This is melodic. You probably would not start that fast. You might go like this. Don't go faster than you can think. It's like when you're driving. Let's say you're driving in fog. Don't drive further than you can see. Bottom of the page, we have harmonic. So when you get to that point, you're going to want to do the Jingle Bells quiz and start on the next quiz, but don't wait too long. Don't think you have to complete one quiz before you can work past that point. You simply have to work further. What's going to happen next is a couple pretty basic songs where you're going to use these intervals. Then we're going to get into a black note. Couple black notes. And guess what you need black notes for? Gotta have black notes to play Furley. So I'm going to stop there.